The world has changed. Archaic whispering, archaic whispering. I feel it whenever I pick up my Kindle. I feel it in the moving sidewalks at Universal Studios. Archaic whispers. I smell it whenever I walk past a Cinnabon, but much that once was remains. For though none now live who were there, we remember it. It began with the penning of the great book that reached out to infinite hearts.
Well, not really infinite hearts, because an infinite amount of people haven't been born yet.
But regardless, one book to enchant entire generations of fantasy and storytelling, inspiring a legacy the readers of the pages would feel obliged to pick up, as if to pay homage to these forebearers of awesomeness.
And that's what I did. I read all the books, and I gave all of them 3 stars. I told myself, Casey,
Yes?
this is the month you finally read Lord of the Rings. I've tried to read Lord of the Rings before, many times, but every time I start off, I always enjoy reading about the Shire, reading about Bilbo's party, reading about Frodo and Gandalf just sitting by the fire, just talking about the ring. However, when we leave the Shire and we get to that chapter, you know what I'm talking about. That chapter. It loses me. Like, woo-wee-oo. However, if you've only seen the movie, then you don't know what I'm talking about. You don't know that chapter. And you should be grateful. But with over 1,000 pages of source material to adapt into a movie, I thought to myself, why don't I tell everyone how the book is different from the movies? So I am. Here are all the differences I thought were interesting to note, and any other little tidbits I thought that you should know. This is in no particular order. No way does this include every little bit of minutia and every other little difference. Like, there's no way. I'm not making a 10-hour video just for that. So if I do miss one, fill us in the comments on what you noticed was different. And lastly, of course, spoilers for the movie and the book. But like, I'm the one on the late train. Y'all should have probably have read the book by now. It's my fault. Please forgive me. So let's dive in for number 1, Aragorn's sword. If you just watched the movies, Anduril, the sword that cut off Sauron's fingers, but is now Aragorn's rightful property, isn't reforged until Return of the King. Which makes no sense. Like, what took y'all so long? Why did you wait? Swords break like crazy easy in these books and movies. Aragorn needs a good one. But even in the book, Aragorn, instead of having to go to that fancy statue thing holding the broken pieces of the sword, he carries it around with him. In his little sheath, he pulls it out, threatens Sam, but ha ha, joke's on you, it's just the hilt, ha! But eventually, when the Fellowship does set out on their journey, he gets his sword made because he's like, yeah, I can't carry a broken sword for this, I need something sharp. But movie people, why wait so long to wait to fix the sword? I'm just gonna guess it has something to do with Elrond thinking this whole quest is useless, there's no hope, and he secretly wanted Aragorn to die so he wouldn't marry Arwen, his daughter. Number 2, the campfire. The hobbits aren't dumb enough to start a cook fire in the middle of pitch black night just to fulfill their love of bacon, and Aragorn isn't dumb enough to just leave these random hobbits who haven't left the Shire in all their lives to fend for themselves. Number 3, Bill the Pony. Bill the Pony has a pretty interesting arc from Fellowship of the Ring as a beast of burden all the way to Return of the King as a semi-warhorse for Samwise Gamgee. Do we see this in the movies? No. Well, we do see Bill. Yeah, he's the horse they shoo away from Moria. Aragorn's like, goodbye. Sorry, can't take you in the mines. Bye. Sam, say bye. Bye, Bill. Back at the gates of Moria, we have number 4. Gandalf is the one who solves the speak, friend, and enter riddle, not Frodo. Number 5 is Tom Bombadil. That chapter. The movies entirely skip the chapters about Tom Bombadil, which I heartily salute. Even though Tom Bombadil is an insanely interesting mini-god character, he is the most plot-stalling, boring part of the book. Actually, in the extended edition of Two Towers, Merry and Pippin are nearly eaten by a tree in Fangorn Forest, but Treebeard comes and rescues them, telling the tree to
eat earth, dig deep, drink water.
This whole scene is taken basically line by line from the book Fellowship of the Rings, where it's Tom Bombadil who saves Merry and Pippin from a really mean willow tree named Old Man Willow. Also, while I'm here, shout out to Treebeard. He was my second favorite character. There's a scene where he's just standing in the rain, like, just so happy. And I was happy because he was happy. Number 6 is Arwen. Arwen is useless. We barely see her. She says basically nothing. She doesn't save Frodo from the ring wraiths. She doesn't carry him across the ford. Her fate is not tied with the ring. Why does Aragorn like her? And why is she on the cover on all 3 movies? I don't know. Why? Segueing from disappointing characters, we have number 7, Legolas. Legolas isn't as impressive in the books. He does not skateboard downstairs on a shield. He does not kill an elephant single-handedly. He does walk perfectly on snow, though. But what does he do when he sees a Balrog? That wonderful specimen of heroics drops his bow and screams, "Aye, aye, a Balrog is come!" Number 8 is Gandalf and Moria. Gandalf isn't nearly as terrified as going into Moria as he is in the books. Then the movie portrays him. Like, whenever they mention Moria, like, close up on his face. Moria. He's more like in the books, "Hey, I know there's evil in there, but if we gotta go in there, we gotta go in there." And perhaps the biggest letdown is number 9. Gandalf does not shout, "You shall not pass." He shouts, "You cannot pass." It doesn't have the same ring to it, I'm sorry. Also, number 10, that little moth, it doesn't exist in the books. Number 11, the ongoing trend of nearly useless characters. We have Galadriel. That weird green scene in the movies that terrified me the first time I saw it, because I was like, why is this here and why are we watching it? Yeah, that happens in the books, but it's not nearly as weird and dramatic. It's like gone in a second. And again, the gifts Galadriel gives to the Fellowship are more useful than she is. And like whenever all the guys in the Fellowship think back on Galadriel, it's like, yeah, she was hot. And she gave me some rope. It is funny, however, whenever someone talks bad about her around Gimli, because he's like, "Who said that? I'll cut ya!" Number 12 is Saruman. Aside from kidnapping Gandalf before that pesky eagle rescued him, Saruman does nothing in the first book. He's talked about, like the big evil guy himself, Sauron. Similar names there, hint, hint, evil, evil. But anyways, in the first movie, he is like constantly being shown. He is the one who causes that avalanche on the snowy mountain when the whole Fellowship's trying to get over. They can't go to Rohan because it's too close to Isengard. Gandalf doesn't want to go to Moria, so they're trying to get through, but Saruman is not letting them. He's conjuring magic, but does he do that in the books? No. In the book, it's the angry mountain trying to get all the people off of its back. Even later on, Gimli and Gandalf shake their fist at the mountain like, "You're such a jerk!" Number 13 is the friendship of Gimli and Legolas. As you probably know, in the movie, Gimli and Legolas has an intense buddy-hatred rivalry going on. But in the book, they are like friends like that. You cannot separate them. They go on one walk together, and they come back fast friends. Yeah, that was really fast. What did y'all talk about? They do have, like, the little how many can you kill competition, but they don't, like, rib each other. I like a little meanness between friends. Does that make me a bad friend? Probably. Yeah. Number 14. Boromir dies in the beginning of Two Towers. Not as epically, though, in the books. Aragorn just finds him slumped against the tree. Number 15. Those random 2 kids. You remember in the movies in Two Towers where the village is getting ransacked by the invading forces of Mordor, the evil men, and the mom sends her 2 kids on the big black horse, and the girl's like, "But he cannot ride the horse. Papa says he's too small for..." Insert horse's name here. Well, those kids end up riding all the way to Rohan, and they signal the alarm that, hey, invaders are coming. Well, those 2 kids do not exist in the books at all. Number 16, fake death. Aragorn does not fake die in Two Towers. Neither is there a giant warg attack. Actually, I think the word warg is only used like less than 3 times in the whole series, which is weird, because whenever I think of like Lord of the Ring villains, I picture the warg. Number 17 are the Ents. Yes, Ents are very slow, we get that. But in the movies, it takes them days to decide that they should go to war. But in the books, they actually decide pretty quickly that, yeah, it's time for Isengard and Saruman to go. Number 17, again, Saruman. Saruman is very underwhelming in these books. Well, in the beginning, but more on that later. The worst thing he does besides lock up Gandalf and cut down some trees so far, is untie Aragorn, Gimli's, and Legolas's horses like some cranky old man doing some sort of lame prank, like, haha, now thou wilt hast to walk. Number 19, the battle for Helm's Deep. Maybe like my favorite scene in the whole movie, just a bunch of fighting. And there was that guy that just had like the one eye, and he goes, fire! But anyways, regardless of the awesome fight scenes, the elves do not come to the rescue at all. It's human on orc. Also, number 20, the Rohirrim. The Rohirrim has already been reunited with Theoden at this point in the books. In the movies, it's the Rohirrim that comes with Gandalf to save Helm's Deep. But no, they're already in Helm's Deep in the book. So who comes to the rescue of Gandalf? Is some guy named Erkenbrand and his men in some really nice trees. Number 21, Merry and Pippin. Merry and Pippin are reunited with Aragorn and the gang in Two Towers, not in Return of the King. Number 22 is Osgiliath. Faramir does not kidnap Frodo and Sam and takes them to Osgiliath, trying to get them to Gondor to give the ring to his dad. Frodo and Sam never go to Osgiliath. Instead, they stay in that cave where the forbidden pool is. And number 23 is Faramir. Faramir is much nicer in the books than we see him in the movies. In the movie, he's threatening Frodo and Sam with his sword like, the ring will go to Gondor. But in the books, once he figures everything out, he's like, oh my gosh, I'll help you. Here, take some food, take some water, just go. He helps them along on their merry way. Number 24 is Saruman's staff. This is probably my favorite scene in Two Towers because there was some Gandalf-y epicness and we finally got to meet Sauron face to face. Oh, not Sauron, sorry, Saruman. See, they're similar. So they got Saruman cornered in his fancy tower in Isengard, and Wormtongue's up on the balcony with him. So Saruman is looking down from his balcony, basically saying, y'all ain't worth the time of day. I am done talking to y'all. Just more poetic and more Middle-earthy than that. So Sauron turns to leave to go back into his tower, but Gandalf, just with the power of his voice, makes Saruman come back to the balcony, and then he yells out, Saruman, your staff is broken, and bam, it just is, and it crumbles out of his hands. It was just some casual awesomeness right there. Number 25 is the Orb. Yes, I know it has like a real name. I think it's like Palantir. I'm probably wrong. Forgive me. So Pippin is the one who finds Saruman's stone orb walkie-talkie evil thing that connects him to Sauron. He finds it in the floodwaters of Isengard, and in the extended cut of Return of the King, it is insinuated that it fell into the waters when Saruman himself fell off of the balcony after being stabbed by Wormtongue and then impaled on a water wheel. But anyways, in the book, it's Wormtongue who throws the orb over the balcony, trying to hit Gandalf on the head. This all happens still in Two Towers, so this of course means that Pippin stupidly steals the orb in Two Towers too. Number 26. There is no cussing in these movies, but in the book, Frodo calls Sam an old. Number 27 is Shelob, or Shelob, whatever your preference is. Gollum takes Sam and Frodo to Shelob's cave in Two Towers, not Return of the King. Also, this leads to number 28, sabotage. Gollum does not frame Sam for eating all the elf bread, and more importantly, Frodo does not abandon Sam to die. I have to interrupt this to just say how much I hate Frodo in the movies. I hate the way he treated Sam. I hate the way he only has two expressions, lost and in pain. Sam! I hate how stupid he was about Gollum. He was trusting him way too much. But to my relief, Frodo is much more likable and halfway intelligent in the books. Whenever I watch the last two movies, I skip the Frodo and Sam scenes because that's how much I hate Frodo. Those are the parts I should be the most concerned about, but no, I can't stand him. Also, number 29, Mithril. In the movie, Frodo's still wearing his Mithril in Return of the King, right? Shelob stabbed him in the abdomen. In the book, they got past this because Shelob stabbed him in the neck, not where the Mithril is. But explain yourself, movie. We know he has it on because the orcs took it off him, but he got stabbed in the stomach somehow. Moving on to number 30, Sam the Ring Bearer. When Sam thinks that Frodo was killed by Shelob, he actually takes the ring and puts it on to hide from approaching orcs. Number 31, Ola. I just thought it was funny. One of the orcs in Two Towers shouts in the Shelob's cave, Ola! Which forces me to think that there's now a Middle East Mexico. Middle Middle East. What is wrong with me? A Middle Earth, Mexico. Number 32 is the Beacons of Gondor. In Return of the King, Pippin and Gandalf do not have to sneak around to light the Beacons of Gondor, so Rohan, Aragorn, and Theoden would come to their aid when war is approaching. No, when Pippin and Gandalf ride up, they're already burning. Number 33, Aragorn's fellow rangers.
No, not those kind.
Aragorn's fellow rangers, the Dunedain, join up with Theoden's troop of horse dudes, so they are actively fighting alongside them in this war. Number 34 is pledging loyalty. Pippin and Merry are separated in both the book and the movie. But while Pippin is pledging himself to Denethor, who we know is a jerk, there's a neat little parallel moment between him and his friend Merry, because at the same time, Merry is pledging himself to Theoden. While one is done out of desperation to a guy we know is a jerk, bring wood and oil, the other is done out of pure devotion and love. Merry is even like, you'll be as a father to me, Theoden. And Theoden's like, for a little while. Number 35 is the Ghost Army. It's not just Aragorn, Gimli, and Legolas in the books who confront the Ghost Army to get them to fulfill their oaths. The Rangers are there with them, and the Ghost, instead of trying to belittle him and intimidate him like they did in the movies, they are ready to go with Aragorn like as soon as they see him. And it happens so quickly, if you skim over a sentence like I accidentally did, you will miss the entire thing. Number 36 is Éowyn and Theoden. There is no heartwarming scene between these two while Theoden lies dying, ironically being crushed by a horse. Way to go, Horse Lord. He doesn't even know she's there, sprawled out on the ground with a jacked up arm. I'm gonna have to break this apart just to tell y'all one similarity between the books and the movies. Sauron is equally overhyped, and destroying the ring is just as anticlimactic no matter what source you look at. Like, what is the deal with the prestige of this dude? In his books, in our world, in the Lego Batman movie. His minions are scarier than he is. We never see him. I want to see my villains face to face so I can be terrified. And number 37. After the ring is destroyed, there is no convenient earthquake that destroys the orc army. No. It's even more boring than that. They all just drop their weapons and run off. Okay, number 38 is the White Tree. Y'all remember that scene where they're leading Faramir off to be burned on the pyre with his dad, his psycho dad? And we see like a little shot of the flower blooming on that tree that's supposed to like herald a new age and the king has returned. The return of the king, however you want to say it. Well, that doesn't happen in the book. When Aragorn is waiting to become king after the whole Sauron kerfuffle is sorted out, the dead tree of Minas Tirith does not bloom for him. So what does he do? He takes Gandalf into the mountains, finds some sort of rare sapling that is a sign from the world that it is his time to rule. They uproot it, take it back to his kingdom, knock over the old tree, bury it with reverence, then plant the new tree where the old one was. And lastly, the last thing I noticed, number 39, it's the scouring of the Shire. The whole thing, the whole chapter. I wish they somehow kept this in the movies, or made its own little mini-series or television show out of it, because it is just as epic as any other battle in the books or movies. At the end of Return of the King in the movies, the hobbits get back to the Shire no problem. Everything in the Shire is hunky-dory. You grab a beer, you grab a woman, you have some babies, live your life. But the real epilogue deserves to be told, and it gives us the real end of Saruman. So listen up. After Isengard is flooded, Saruman is left under the supervision of Treebeard. But when Gandalf and everyone else pass over when the war is over, we learn that Saruman has subtly manipulated himself out of his prison. The whole gang, sharing my opinion that Saruman is useless, are not too troubled by this, except Gandalf, of course. But when they continue on their way, they actually meet Saruman on the side of the road, on the way to Rivendell. Wormtongue is with him, but Saruman is all in rags, like a crouchy old beggar. And poor Grima Wormtongue is like some sort of golem-like creature, just a pitiful whining dog, basically. Taking pity on these two, Gandalf and the gang let them go. But not after, like, Saruman runs off with, I think, Merry or Pippin's purse? Or Waterskin, I don't know, he steals something. But anyways, it was a big mistake to let him go. When the hobbits get to sort of the border of the Shire, they start to learn that there are bandits and ruffians running amok. and that Bree, the town where the Prancing Pony Inn is at, hasn't received any Longbottom leaf from the Shire for a while. So obviously something is afoot if they're not getting the goods from a neighboring town. The hobbits continue traveling, and when they get to the borders of the Brandywine River, they find it barricaded. Merry and Pippin, who have grown like supernaturally thanks to the Entwash they drank while they were with Treebeard, they climb over the barricade and threaten the guards to let them in. But by orders of the chief, no one is allowed past the barricades in between sundown and sunrise. But our hobbits are like, well, why is the Shire barricaded at all? They force the guards to let them sleep in their house. Where we learn there is some sort of communist stuff going on. The chief's lackeys come around, taking and measuring their food for fair distribution, which means that they never see their food ever again. They sleep the night away, but in the morning they find that a troop of sheriffs, not my spelling, but theirs, the sheriffs, being fat hobbits with staves in their hands and feathers in their hats, they announce that they have come to arrest Frodo and company for breaking through the barricade. But our hobbits are like, ha, 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 ha. Like, no, I'm going to Bag End. Feel free to come with me if you want to. So they do. They arrive at Frodo and Sam's old neighborhood and find that it is basically blown up. Houses are missing, scorch marks are everywhere, weeds are everywhere, much to Sam's chagrin. There's nasty man stone houses everywhere, and they come to believe that the current owner of Bag End, Lotho, one of the infamous Sackville Bagginses, is responsible for all of this. So with the help of Farmer Cotton, Frodo and the others raise a revolt against the chief, Lotho, and his number one henchman, some guy named Sharky, a guy that no one has seen. Then there's this epic battle that lasts 2 whole paragraphs, and when they defeat the ruffians, Frodo and company go to his old house with a whole army of victorious hobbits, a bunch of them archers. They go to Frodo's old house to take down the chief and Sharky once and for all. And guess what? Saruman is Sharky. Saruman mocks Frodo, curses him, and then proceeds to try to knife him, but thankfully the Mithril stops him. He fails, and Sam decides it's time for off with your head. But thankfully, well, not really thankfully, but Frodo stops Sam from doing this. Frodo, being stupid but kind, decides that they should just let him go, saying that he was a great wizard, la 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 la, back in the day, la la la, we should respect that, la la la, stupid. Frodo, however, extends an invitation to Wormtongue to remain in the Shire with them, seeing that Wormtongue has done no evil to Frodo. Saruman laughs, revealing that it was Wormtongue who killed Lotho, Frodo's relative, in his sleep, and possibly ate him. Wormtongue snaps when Saruman reveals his dirty little secret, and slits Saruman's throat before the hobbits can shoot him dead. And so some strange mist comes out of Saruman's corpse, dissolves away, and his body deteriorates into a skeleton. And then the hobbits set out to clean up the town, and it was amazingly awesome. That was a great chapter. Those are all the differences I found between the books and the movies. The movies are good, the books are good, but I did give the books 3 stars each. A perfect 3.0 for me means you're okay, but I'm never going to reread you again. Here's why. The amount of traveling without the characters interacting off of one another, and the descriptions of just about everything that looked or appeared interesting, killed me. When you go over a hill in these books, you really go over a hill. When we pass a tree, you get to know that tree intimately. And heaven help you if you go through a forest. Like I said, these books are over 1,000 pages, and I will bet that at least half of that is just travel and looking at trees. Maybe a mountain every now and then. I like descriptions. I love big books. I love traveling scenes. But when it's all just chock full, jam-packed, sliding down your throat scenery, no stop, no break, and it's not about the characters or the people in the scenery, I am bored out of my mind then. It got to where I was excited to see a quotation mark on the page, because then I knew we could take a break from looking at stuff and we could listen to people talking to each other. There were also times where I felt we were just like given names of places without like the lore of those places, and there were other times where it was the exact opposite and it was just info dump over and over and over again, and my brain had so many bruises it just couldn't take any more information. I've also got my complaints about Sauron as a villain because we never saw him face to face, except like maybe when Merry was looking at stone, but whatever, that doesn't count. But ultimately what kept me in these books are the amazing characters. Everybody needs a Sam Gamgee in their life. That is all I have, people. But these books sort of sucked the fun out of my reading life for a while, so I need a break. I need something that is like the complete opposite from Lord of the Rings. Oh yeah. Aragon's always a good choice. Bye everybody, I will see you next time with a massive book haul. But until then, keep turning pages!